Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for the next episode of my brain tumor diaries. Today I will talk about the brain surgery itself because I went to my pre-op this week and the lady at the pre-op was talking about the surgery and what will happen, so I thought I would share what it will be like. So I don't know how much you know about brain surgery already, but there are two main types. One is called the awake craniotomy and the other one is the asleep craniotomy. Now, within these two groups, there are various other subgroups like doing it through your nose or removing half of your face, etc., or cutting open the skull, whatever. I've talked to many people that have gone through the brain tumor surgery, and I must say it's a pretty scary procedure. I don't know, even if you are awake or asleep, it doesn't really make much of a difference because when you wake up, it's going to be sore, I think. So, okay, a lot of people said that they didn't feel anything once they've woken up, but I think they said that because they were high on morphine. Anyhow, I will now explain what the difference is between the awake and asleep procedures. Obviously, the biggest difference is that in one of them you are awake, in the other one you are asleep. I would say if they suggest that you should be asleep, then take that opportunity, because there is nothing worse than waking up during surgery and seeing your brain being slurped away by a tube. I'm fortunate because the doctor told me that I don't need to be awake during the surgery, although I was thinking about opting for being kept awake because I wanted to help the surgeon, but then he said there is no need for that because my tumor is not in a primary part of the brain where it would risk being paralyzed. The biggest risk is basically if the tumor is in your brain where your motor functions are located, then if the surgeon cuts too much of the brain out, then you can be paralyzed, unfortunately. It is a very risky procedure because the tumor looks pretty much the same as the brain. So for the surgeon to be able to decide how much more he can remove from the tumor, he needs you to be awake so that you can move your arms and legs and talk, basically function. So from that, he will be able to tell that he can cut more of the tumor out. So what happens? They take an MRI image of your brain, map out the tumor, and then he will have that image. Okay, I haven't been through it, and I haven't been inside an operating theater, but this is how I imagine it. If you want to know what it really is like, then go for it, search on YouTube for craniotomy, and then you will find out. I have decided not to do it because I'm not crazy. I've met a couple of guys that have watched awake craniotomies, and they said it was terrible and it has probably scarred them for life. That's one reason why I want to be asleep, because I don't want to be traumatized for the rest of my life, seeing my brain open and the tube slurping my brain away. Anyhow, going back to what I was talking about, so the doctor has done the MRI, there will probably be a big screen, he will look at it and decide, okay, that's the part of the brain where the tumor is. You are asleep at the beginning, they cut your skull open, if that's the way they want to remove it, then open the flap, cut inside the brain. But first, if you are doing the awake, then they will, once they've opened your scalp, they will wake you up. Then he will prod your brain a little bit, your hand and legs will move like crazy. That will tell him that's the healthy part of the brain. Then he will ask you some things to talk, respond, whatever. And if you have responded correctly and you are fine, then he will start the surgery itself. How that is done is a big mystery to me, but basically he will just cut the brain, open up probably the brain where the tumor is. I mean, I am not an expert in it, I'm just telling you what I have read on the internet and what he told me during our consultations. So how he explained, imagine the brain as a bucket of paint, white paint, and then somebody drops in a big blobber of grey paint. Now, it's a very simple way of telling, but for him it's much more complicated because there is no color difference. If you've got a high-grade tumor, then they can make you drink a pink drink that will color the tumor, so it will make the surgeon's life easier, but unfortunately that pink drink will make no difference to low-grade tumors. So if you have a low-grade tumor in a part of the brain where it will affect your motor functions, then you will have to be awake. If the tumor is low-grade in a part of the brain where it will not affect motor functions, then you will not have to be awake. But this is my simplest way of explaining it. There could be a multitude of other factors why you would have to be awake or asleep. I have no idea. It is down to the individual and your consultant. So just please go to talk to your consultant. But here I'm just talking about my experience. Anyway, what else? So during the awake craniotomy, which I'm thankful I will not have to experience, you will lie on the bed. Your head will be basically screwed into the table, or I don't know how they fix it, but it has to be fixed so that you don't move or nothing happens in case the surgeon cuts the wrong part of the brain. So you have to be there like this, motionless, screwed into the table, the tubes coming out of your mouth, they will force your jaw open, and your head back like this, so I don't know, they can access the brain easier. It all sounds pretty gruesome, I must be honest. It's like going to the slaughterhouse and then lying on the table where they will cut you open. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is the reality of the whole thing. So there you are, lying on the table, fixed up, motionless, screwed into the table. The doctor tells the anesthesian to wake you up. You wake up, you look totally confused, have no idea where you are, would like to move your head, but you are like this, basically. And I don't know, just thinking about myself, if that was the case, they wake me up and that's the way I find myself, I would probably completely freak out and pass out just like that. I don't know. I would be absolutely scared and probably suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of my life. I went for a long MRI scan back in June, I think. That took about an hour and 10 minutes. It was about 3 times as long as a regular MRI scan. And what you need to know about these MRI scans is you cannot move at all, because if you move, the image will be distorted and blurred. So basically you are lying on the bed like this, cannot move for 20-25 minutes if that's just a regular MRI. But with my special MRI, it took more than an hour. Me being a good boy, I decided I'm not going to move for anything. So I was lying there like this, motionless. I asked the nurse after about maybe 35 minutes, can I please move my head a little bit or my arms because I'm going very numb? Then she said, please don't, because we will have to redo the whole procedure. So I thought, oh my goodness, my right arm was already going numb, and I could feel the numbness going up my neck towards my right side of the head. So I thought, oh my, please hurry up, finish this quickly, because I cannot lie here motionless anymore. Then to distract myself from the numbness, I decided to move my legs. But then the nurse told me, no, you can't move your legs either, you just have to be completely motionless just in case. So you can imagine me, I normally am a bit fidgety, so lying there for an hour and 10 minutes motionless, I honestly felt like becoming very claustrophobic, and I was praying for it to be over sooner than later, but I had no control over any of it. Finally, when the nurse told me that it's over, they pulled me out of bed, but I literally couldn't get up myself, so they had to pull me out of this bed that I was lying on. So at that point I decided, since the doctor offered that I can be asleep during the craniotomy, I will opt to be asleep. I don't want to traumatize myself, waking up, not being able to move, or having a complete terror attack during the surgery. I imagine maybe the doctor looked at me and he was like, my goodness, this guy is a nervous wreck already. If I put him through this craniotomy, he's going to die or something. I don't know. He's a very cool guy. His name is Mr. Stapleton at Tooting St. George's Hospital. And I consider myself very lucky that he is my surgeon, because I've only heard good things about him. Right, well, I don't know. I can't think of anything else now. I think I've talked all about the surgery and what it will be like. I'm a bit annoyed because in the morning I went down to the shopping center to have a bit of change of scenery, but this freaking camera didn't record the sound, only the picture, so I cannot use that footage unfortunately. But tomorrow I will try again. I will go down to the shopping center to have a bit of a different scenery for these videos, because I'm going to be honest, I'm getting a bit bored of it, recording it in this living room corner where there is nothing interesting. Anyhow, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions about the craniotomy, just ask me in the comments please, and please do not worry too much. You can't really do anything about the surgery. If you have a brain tumor, your best option is to have it removed. If you have to be awake or asleep, that will be a choice for the doctor. If he tells you that you need to be awake, then unfortunately you will need to be awake. If you decide not to go for the surgery, well, that is a very risky option. I don't know what would happen if you decided to not go for the surgery, but if it is an operable tumor, then I would recommend doing what the doctor says and having the operation. Otherwise, your tumor will sooner or later transform into an aggressive type, and that will mean death at the end of the day. It's a tough decision. If you decide to operate, go for it and be strong, and hopefully you will recuperate soon enough without any complications. But if you decide not to operate, that's also absolutely fine. All up to you. It is your life. Nobody can force you to do something that you do not want to do. There are 16,000 brain tumor cases in the UK every year, and I would say, I don't know the statistics, but if the doctors think that the best option is if they can operate you to operate, then just take your word for it. It's not like there's a huge conspiracy behind this. You are not a lab rat or lab rabbit or any of those lab animals. You are a human being, and I'm pretty sure the doctors want the best for you. It's not like they want the worst for you. So with that all said, thank you very much and have a nice day.